Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you that we can continue to have class. Thank you that you took us through the weekend. We ask, O Lord, that our class will go well. We also remember Livingstone. We ask that you shall be with him and comfort his family. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Doctor, for the wonderful prayer. Let me pick it right away from there. We're now going to, I'm just going to try to save time. The other week I didn't, the last training, I didn't give you time to share your screen because I wanted to cover more. But just a quick recap of what we discussed the other time. So in the previous training, we were able to read the data set in Python notebook, which is the Jupyter notebook. And we were also able to use the libraries. Let me just scroll through. So we were able to deal with NumPy, how to import these modules like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and then Seaborn. Today, we will still continue with this other part, which I feel we need to cover it because our data set that we collected contain more of strings and less of the numeric data. So I have added some columns to the new data set that we are going to work with today, because you now know how to read data set or data frames, and you also able to, because tomorrow we'll be able to finish this other part of exploratory data analysis and then insight of data visualization. But before I get to this point, let us first get this data, understand this preparation very well. Today I'm going to keep it simple so that, because most of the assignments, for those ones who are going to do data science project that involves analysis and visualization, will need to understand this part clearly. And I believe you now know how to check the shape of the data set and even to see the columns. I've tried to make it much easier, but tomorrow we will be at the advanced stage. So I don't expect complaints. We will be able to move much faster compared to what we are going to do today. But don't forget that today we will also cover the basic visualizations like histogram, bar graph, line graph, scatter plotter, correlation, all those concepts. We are going to cover them today, so that we have time to wind up the data science bit of it, because I believe you will be able to analyze the data. Okay, to make life much better, I'm going to drop a data set in the chat, and I will just ask you to read the data set. That's going to be the first step. So I'm going to drop data set 4, which you can see BS data for set 4 in the chat, for you to be able to read it. And then we now carry on from that part. Okay. So data set 4 is in the chat. Please read your data set. Step 1. I've just dropped it in the chat. I know those ones who are going to come late, they will be able to read the data set. We will keep dropping it. So read the data set and share your screen so that I should confirm that you guys are following. If you finish reading the data set, please share your screen, just to keep it simple. Anyone who has finished reading the data set? Read the data set, read or load the data set. Anyone who has finished reading the data set? Okay, let me drop it one more time. Okay, there you go. So no one is reading the data set, and you know me, I'm so much concerned about time. So since you refused to share with me your data set, that is fine. Okay. Now we're going to be able to just deal with our pre-processing, which is our data preparation. We will still focus so much on empty cells, and we'll focus so much on the wrong format, and then we'll focus on wrong data and then duplicates. So that is going to be our focus today. So can someone mute? Okay. To make it easy, I'm not going to repeat this other process. Let me just try to get these libraries from here and then load it. I don't know which day we are on, but I'm not so sure, but I'll figure it out. Okay, so what I've done, I've just decided to use the other modules for pandas, but always make sure you import NumPy, pandas, matplotlib, and then you run it. Now, our data set, just a second. Just a second, I confirm something. Okay. All right. I've double checked the data set. So let's now load the data set. So let's load the data set. Now, to load the data set, it's the same as reading the data set. So what you're going to do, each and every time you're going to read the data set, make sure that the data set name is, if you're defining the variable, should not be the same with other variables probably that you've used in your code. So you realize that we have somewhere we use data frame in the previous. So you can see we have used. Okay, you can see we have already used df, and since we have already declared the parameter for this data frame df, it will be reading some old data set. So what I want you to do is to change this variable to a new variable. Since we are dealing with data set 4, you can say df4 so that you do not get errors. Okay, so let's now use it as df4. df4. Now we want to read our data set. So this is going to be variable for our data frame. We're calling it what? df4. And you have to put pd for pandas, then dot read underscore CSV. Now, when you open the bracket, you need to put the file path. But of course, our data set is within the same path. So this is the data set we want to read. Now you just have to put it in quotes, or you can use single quote or double quote. Then you can use the data set name, which is data set 4. Now, because you want to load this data set, you want to see it returning it in frames. So you can do what? df. Now, when you do df4, it will display it will just load our data set, but will only be able to show the first 5 rows and the last rows. So when you load this data set, you click on run, it will show you the first 5 and then the last 5 rows. So we have 169 rows and 15 columns. This is what we see in the new data set that I've given you. And if you try to look at the column headers, so you can clearly see that we just added duration, pulse, max pulse, and calories to the extreme end so that we can deal with more of since we want to do data visualization, so we will be able to do the plotting and other aspects. Let me check what is in the chat. So, okay. People were requesting for the data set. So let's confirm that at least one person has managed to read the data set. Then from there, we are going to proceed. I just want to allow you to share the screen. 1 or 2, just for me to have a look at the data set you have. Okay. All right, that's fine. Owen is using Anaconda, probably. Okay, Emmanuel, thank you. Now let's get back to work. Let's get back to work. I hope the rest are following. I hope the rest are following. Okay, now the other time we were able to talk more about if you load the data set, what are you supposed to check? What are the best workflows of data analysis? Now, we say that it is important for you to check your data structure. so that you can understand how many rows and columns you have. Like here, it's easier. Now you can see you have, say, 9 rows. You can only just confirm. You can only confirm. You can just confirm the shape of your data. Just confirm data shape. Now, for you to confirm shape, since you have the variable df4, which is data frame 4 for this particular data set, now you just put dot shape. Now, you will be able to know the shape of the data set in terms of the rows and columns. So this is very okay. You now know you have 169 rows by 15 columns. Okay. Now, this gives you a clear understanding. Now, another thing that I want you to focus on, probably let's look at the columns, because the columns are already here. You can check it. There's no need for it. Okay. But if you just want to check it, you can do df4 columns. df4 dot columns. Then it will show you the columns that you're having. Now you can understand how these columns are being written. Duration, pulse, max pulse, calories, and you have an idea of the columns that are there. Okay, we will now switch back to one other concept that I want us to explain better, is how we can do pre-processing. Now, we want to first look at these data sets in terms of empty cells. I now want to explain them because there are 4 aspects that I want you to understand. So we will be going logically to make sure that we can handle all these concepts at a time. Now, we want to understand the column, the empty cells. First, dealing with empty cells. When you open this data set, you will know that probably there are some empty cells. And how are we going to deal with the empty cells? So if you want to confirm that there are really empty cells, you could try to remove some rows which contain what? Empty cells. Now, when you remove those rows that contain empty cells, then you would view the results. You try to drop them. Then definitely the number of rows are going to reduce. And in that process, you will know that your data set contains some empty cells. So let's see how we can do that by dropping. So you would use a method for dropping, which is drop now, to help you remove some of those empty cells. Let's see if you can do this practically. Now, what you're going to do, make sure that the new data frame you're going to show, you can call it df4 underscore new. Then you're going to drop from data frame 4, df4 dot, then you have to use the drop method. Okay, so you have to use the drop method. Now you could drop, you use this drop NA method. All right. Now, when you use this, yes?
I wanted to know whether if you use the drop now and you use in place true, does it make a final change on the real data set? like permanent one.
No,
the
the
drop
in
now.
the in place true method does not change the original. Actually returns it to the original data set. So we will use it after this. But we basically focusing on just removing rows that are empty. But remember, those rows have a very big impact when you're trying to analyze your data. But here we just want to know if we remove all of them, because that data set is now big. When we remove, then we will be able to know how many rows we have dropped so far. So can we do that? Okay, so let's just do df4 new. Okay, now when you load this, you expect those data sets, okay, those rows that contain empty cells to be dropped. So let's load it. Now, after loading, your focus is to go and check on what? The rows. How many rows do I have? Because we decided to make sure that this new data set, the new data, we wanted to return the df4 new so that it is different from the original data set. Otherwise, we would have used it on the in-place true to help us not to create those changes on those data sets. But for now, we are interested in dropping those data, those rows that contain empty, that contains anything that deals with empty what? Empty cells. So this is what you do. You just use this drop, the drop now method. Of course, when you hover over it, now this drop now method will remove rows that contain empty cells. I'm basically explaining only this code here. I'm not explaining the entire the code which I've used. You know it. This is a variable. This is to show the variable. So this is how you drop empty cells, and then you're able to know how many empty cells that are within the what? The data set. Because originally we had 169 rows and 15 columns. But now here, because we are dropping the rows which contain empty cells, so we managed to remain with only 160 rows that contain complete entries. So this is one other way of dealing with data set. Now we can try to use the argument for in place. Okay, in place true. Now, for you to understand that in place true, we can also use it to this particular data set and then read the original data set that we have. Okay, so by default, when you use the drop now, it will definitely, it will not change the original data. So let's try to use the in place true, and then we also look at its result. Then we can explain that. So it's still going to be the same thing. We can actually reuse our code. So what you just do, you just pass in the argument in that method drop now. So you just say in place equals true. Now you run. Now you see nothing really changes if you use on the new data set. But if you use it on the old data set, which is a DF4, also nothing changes. Okay. Now, what does it mean when you use the drop now in place true? So it means that the new data frame will remove all rows containing the null values from the original data set. I think we have tried it practically. You could also try it out yourself and then see the impact. So that is it with the in place new, but just know that it will definitely what? Remove the data set. Now let's look at one more concept that we can use. Let's say we want to fill all the empty. Okay, we want to fill like all the empty cells with some value. What method can we use when we want to fill empty values? Remember, in our previous data set, it shows that we have empty what? Empty cells. Now we want to put some value in those empty cells. We want to fill in those empty cells with some value. What can we do? Okay, you will just use the fill now. Instead of using the drop, you'll use the fill now method. Now this is going to be fill now. Now the argument you're going to pass, what do you want to fill? Let's say we want to fill a value in all those empty cells. Someone should mute. Peace, can you mute? Okay. Now we want to fill, let's say we want to add 100 on all the empty cells. So the fill now method, this method here, will allow you to what? Will allow you to replace all those empty cells with some value. So let's check it out, but use it on the original data set, which is DF4. Okay. So let's try to do that and say we pass in 100 and the in place method will leave it to true. So let's try to read it. Oh, it's saying that non-type objects has no attribute fill now. Oh no, I made them. I just have to remove this. So it's supposed just to be a data frame variable, then dot fill now. Then that can correct the what? The error, then it can fill in the values. Still?
So I think you add the word value before the 100 inside, because there is an in place. If there is in place, you have to put value is equal to 100.
Really? But this should work, really. Okay. Let's put value and see. Still does not.
Sir, excuse me.
Supposed
Yes.
to be a list. It's supposed to enter a list.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, the DF4 value is now right now because use the DF in place on it. In place returns a null because it changes the like the content within, so it returns a null.
Okay,
You'll have
but
to
I
rerun
think,
the cell up and then you.
yeah, I think we just need to rerun it up, then that can work. That means we have to rerun this cell.
Minus that of DF, yeah.
That's the one we have to rerun. Okay, so I think that is it. So now if you check clearly, there are so many okay, you can see now that, let me see which line had empty cells in our previous data set. You should be able to see 100. Okay. I'm not sure which column is really empty, but I'm just trying to check here. Okay. Okay. Let's check it using. Let's check it using a column probably. That would help solve that. It would help us know which column had empty cells that was replaced. Let's try to look at it in terms of columns. Let's look at one column. There are many columns, but let's look at one column for calories. So let's just do DF4 to just check that particular column. Okay. So let's focus on calories. DF4 calories, so that we are able to see. So we can use the fill now. And then we do 100, and then we use the in place. Python is case sensitive, so the in place is written using the lowercase. Fill now, calories, dot, fill now.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Now, what I have heard about the in-press argument, like when you use it, like permanently, the rows containing the null values were removed even in the original data set. That means when you're trying to fill in the new values, it won't be working because the original one right now contains no other, like it contains zero rows with missing values. Maybe to check it or to confirm it, you can just run df4 only. You see that it will be now containing 160 rows, which was the value we got with the dropner function.
But when you rerun it, this is what you're explaining. That if you use the in place method, this literally drops those empty cells. Is that what you're saying? So if we rerun the df4, that means it should return only those columns that do not contain the. Okay, but we here we were able to fill in. All I want to see, I just want to see that 100 being filled in this data set. That's the only thing that I want to implement. I just want to make sure that it is filled in those data set. That's the focus right now. And I'm sure it's going to fill in 100. We could check out some columns. Okay, maybe I can open those the original data set, and then probably we look at the original data set and we try to. So this is the original data set. What I'm trying to do is that there are several columns. Okay. Looking through it directly like this is a little bit cumbersome. So what I'm trying to do is to make sure that, let's come to this other last column. Can you double check with me and confirm that, is it row 19? Row 19 of calories empty. So we want to add a value here. That's why we are using the fill now. Are you getting me? From this data set.
So we get you.
Yeah, so what I want to do is that I want to fill in this empty what? This empty cell of calories, this empty column of calories with a value 100. That's what I'm trying to do. And there are actually two. There is 19. Let's just note those columns to guide us whether we are doing it. I don't know where I dropped my pen. Okay, I got a pen here. So we have 19, column 19, and column, okay, no, row 19 and row 29. I don't know if there's any other empty. We could check it throughout. There's another one here, which is what? 93, because you are also using the same data set, right? Okay, let's just confirm it in that way. There's another column here, which is 120. There's another column, which is 143. So there are many. 143. I think that is it. So we want to fill in that column by adding, just by adding 100 in it throughout. That's the only thing we want to do. That's why we are now trying to look at that data frame 4, the columns for calories. Then we use dot fill now. We fill in 100 and then in place equals true. So you could probably Google and understand more about the use of the in place method. Okay, now here we can we can try to get it. Sometimes you can even use the print. If you, let's do df4 and see. If it doesn't, then we can try to use it like in a print way. So when you run this, my understanding is that the fill now method will fill in this value in this column. Okay. Let's try to print that and see. Then I'm going to introduce some other method called toString. Let's try to use this. You can even try to check it using the print, but this is very traditional, where you use print, then you use df4, then you use to underscore toString. Now the toString method should be able to display all these columns. Okay. So now when you use the toString method, let's go to that column. At least you're able to see it from here. 19. I just wanted it to, because we could not go and see it from. So let's look at 19. 19 is this line here, this column here. Let's see if it has filled in. Yeah, it's here. Okay. So maybe if you want to confirm, you can put it like that and then scroll. It's such, ours is in 16 here. Okay, you could check calories. You could check if it has filled in all those values. All right, so that is how you fill in. That's how you're able to fill in what? That's how you're able to fill in empty, those null values using what? toString, fill in. Now there's another technique that is always used if you do not want to get some error. Let me try to check what is in the chat. Help me with the second last command. The second last command is this one. Okay, so that is the second last command. This is the second last command. That's what we have in the chat. So there are no more. Now there's something that I want to introduce for us to understand. Let's say you want to use from pandas library in a situation where you're dealing with let's see, you want to get exactly, instead of filling in 100, because 100 is just some number that we provided, you're doing your analysis, you may not get the true representation of your data. So it is always important, if you want to come up with the exact value to fill in, you should be able to use maybe the median, or no, I think mean would be better if you use mean. When you use mean, so mean will help determine the value that can be used in that specified column. So it can calculate the mean and then replace all the empty all the empty values with the mean. In that way, the data can be a little bit good for representation and what? And you can easily represent that data and use it for visualization. And the data cannot be, you cannot have some big margin with what? With the differences. So let's see if we can use the mean to calculate. Like let's say you're getting the calories, okay? You can get the mean of the calories, then it would calculate the mean and put it, and then fill in the mean instead of filling in what? Instead of filling in just random figure in that cell. So let's try to do it practically and see. So here we will try to replace using mean, okay? There are several. You can use mean, you can use median, you can use mode. But remember, all these are methods that you can use. So let's see if we can use data frame 4 and then fill it using the mean. I expect the results to be different because the others we put 100. So this time now we want it to calculate for us the mean and then it replaces it. So we can calculate mean. So let's see if we can, if you can understand calculating mean, then it is going to be easier to implement. Now, remember, you can only read your data set once, and then you keep loading the remaining cells. Now, let's see if you're going to calculate mean. You can use any value. You can use any value, but don't use mean equals to. Because mean is a reserved word to calculate what? Mean. You're making your variable here to be mean, and then you're using, so it's better not to use mean. You could use M to represent mean. Then you do it in your DF4. Then you should be able to look at which column do you want. There are so many columns you can, I don't know whether the column for age contains some. Let's see in the column for age. I'm not so sure about column for age if it is having some empty cells. Those ones who have the, you could open the other data set and then we check if column for age is contained.
Yes.
So we can, okay. Remember, I've not, okay. So you can just do for that. So it is just going to put the average age in those what? It will fill in the average age. So you can say M equals to DF, then age, okay? Is age written in what? Because it's case sensitive, the title. Okay, it's here. Okay, so we can do age. Then, oh, oops, you're supposed to put it in quotes. Age. Then you just do dot. Then you use the mean method. When you use mean, then that should be able to what? To calculate for you the mean. And then it will replace any empty cell. Excuse me. It will replace any empty cells that with the value of mean. So now what you're going to do, just use DF4. Then you pass in age, then just say fill now. Now fill now is going to be M. Now it is always important to use the in place method. So you just do in place equals to true. Okay. Yeah, then you run the code. You run that particular line. So I'm sure that particular column for, there's this thing that we tried it out. We say that we can print to string, okay? Which we have just used it here. Just do print to string. Which column of age is which row of age is containing empty cells? Could you type it in the chat or you unmute? Could you type it in the chat?
Even 48 is not having.
There are many. Eh?
Yeah, 48 is one.
Yeah. Could you identify the one which is below, I think around 23, if they're there?
Below it is not there. Beginning from 40, it is 48. Then we have 75. Then another, yeah, we have those two. Which
There
are
are only two.
Yeah, 48 and 75.
Okay, let's just change this. Instead of using age, let's use the column for calories because at least we could see it there. It's the same thing, eh? The idea is the same. Then we also change here to calories. Okay, let's reload this. So calories, we could check it in what? If the values are different. I hope you're also trying it from that end. Eh? Is there anyone trying it from there?
Yes.
Okay. So in the calories, what is the calculation? We want to see what's the mean, because my mean should be the same with yours, because we're using the same what data set. I want to see that part of the mean being filled in. Said they are on 19. So what's the calculation of your mean? What results do you get? I think I need to Google how to show out this all entire thing. I've just forgotten how to. Okay, let's first Google something on how to show the entire. It's going to be long, but let's show it. Let's just make sure so that it displays all the what? All the data frame.
Mine is 375.9.
Which one? Which line is that?
The
It's on 19.
It is after
After what?
This number. It is after. It is not line 19.
Mm.
The values near it are 215, 300, then 375.9.
215, 300, and 379. This.
Yeah, yours
this,
is still remaining 100 because I think you have not rerun the original.
Okay.
Yeah. If you rerun up first, then you run the other code, it will change.
No, I get what you're saying. Okay. No, but there's a way how you could show all those. There's a way how you could show all this instead of, because here is showing the first 20 what?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how they can show it out. You could also Google it out and see if you can, so that we do not. Okay, it's here, it's still null. Okay.
Yes. Mm.
But now let me rerun this other part for calculate the mean. Okay. Now I can pick it. You see right now it's still what? This is none. Okay. So it's here. Now when you rerun it, and then you also rerun this, you now see that calculation. 379.
No, that one is still down. 370 should be 370.
Oh, it's three. Yeah, it's this one.
Yeah, 375. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that is how you calculate the mean. Let's probably see if there's anyone having. Is there anyone with a problem? You could share your screen and we see if you're able to calculate the mean. Any other person to share the screen? I want someone who managed to display all of it. There's that code that displays everything.
Okay, like I've got this code here. Like we get the option to display all the rows. You have to include a pd.set option. Then you pass in display.max rows and then none. Then when try to run the df, because mine I called it df, all rows will be displayed as you can see here. All rows will be displayed.
So it displays max that.
Let me paste it in the chat maybe.
You paste it for people to see. Okay, you could use that, then we can be able to. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the thing which I was looking for. I'd forgotten it. Let's just. So it is display dot set underscore option Then display max. Display dot max. There is rows.
You have not shared your screen.
Oh, oops. I thought I'd shared the screen. Let me just. Okay, it's display dot max, but you put it in what? The display is supposed to be in quotes. Just to give you that comfort, when you, it's not a comma, but no, it's a comma, then you do none. Okay. So this displays all rows and columns, but that displays only rows about columns. That means you have to run both of them. Then this is supposed to be what? This is supposed to be columns. Then you just do df, your data frame. You know how you rename your data frame, right? Then to display the complete data frame. Exactly. This is what I was looking for. I look at your code looks to be different from mine. Yours, let me see. Oh, you've used it only for rows, but you could also use it for columns. So in this way, it helps you to clearly identify. The bad thing is that this data is very huge, which I wanted it to be exactly like that. Okay, so you can see that 19 it has calculated. Now let's go to the next. Just try to comment that code. You may not know the use of this code. Just comment it. It's the code I was trying to look for it. Okay. So this displays display let's just say shows display of all rows and columns.
Yes, excellent. I have a question.
you are muted.
Okay, I think that's fine. We can calculate it with median. So for you to, and then we replace all the empty cells with what? With median. So what should be the variable for median? Because the other side we use M, we can now use M again. Not so? Let's use let's use.
Since I have a question.
Yes. Ask the question.
Now, okay, like so also in the timestamp there is a missing value. So now because it's like in form of a date, like how can we replace the missing value inside there?
Handling date is kind of tricky. We cannot calculate date using median. So what I would do, we would use the in place method to just put in a value for date. Otherwise, with date, it becomes a little bit tricky.
Okay,
Especially, yeah, okay, I will try to show it because we still have one more concept, which is handling wrong data, and we can deal with that part of that time on the date, and we see how we can. Okay, let's handle that cleaning of date using what? Using wrong data, because I know that date contains wrong data. If you check, thank you for the question. Let's just get back and have a glance of it. Okay, try to look at this date. We also have a missing what? I personally created this data to, okay, I modified the data so that date is also containing somewhat yeah, it's easier to deal with that. You just look at column for date, then you fill in. Let's deal with it using wrong data, because that idea, that concept can be handled very well using wrong data. We'll come back to it. Date and the wrong data. So remember, let me
Sir.
try to hold on. You could ask the question as I get down. Remember, I don't know. We have dealt with empty cells. Empty cells. So now with empty cells, you are able to fill in, okay? Using the fill now, you're able to fill in, and then you are able to calculate mode median. Then when you're dealing, because when you're doing data pre-processing, you deal with empty cells, you deal with wrong formats, which the data set I'm going to give you for your final assignment contains wrong format, contains empty cells, contains wrong data, and also contains duplicates. Even this, I created this also. So each and every time you get a data set, just know very well that you will always have empty cells, wrong format, wrong dates, and duplicates. Every data set that I'm going to give it to you, I will personally manipulate it for you to have this. So I expect when I'm marking you in the code, like when it comes to like age, if you're doing your analysis, if you just fill in any value, like the way we first put 100, I would know that would not be the best way to fill in the data. I'll not give you marks for that. Then another thing is when you calculate, maybe using the mean or the mode, because you know very well that the median is the middle number, and then the mean is the average value, and then the mode is the number that appears frequently. Now that is what I want you to understand. Now, for you to fill in a value, it is always better to use the mean. You get the average and put it there. That would be a better representation of data. That's why I talk about the data representation bit of it. But if you just put in your own value, okay, you can only put in your own value in a situation dealing with like maybe date. Because if you drop, I've told you the consequences. One, if you drop the rows, you're going to change the shape of your data. That's a very big problem. If you have 169 students in class and 2 have not put their date of birth, and you decided to drop them, that means that data will be containing only 167. Now, when you are representing this in a pie chart, or pie chart, bar graph, histogram, yes, the data will come, but I will not trust that data because the data is not representing the exact information. That's why you need to be very careful when to drop. When do I drop? That's why you need to first calculate the percentage of your data. If the percentage is small, it's okay. 99 point some. Okay, it may not be 100%, but should be closer, like maybe 99 or 98 point something. We did those calculations, yes, in the previous lecture. So this stage of data pre-processing is the one which is more technical. Once you understand it, that's why I'm giving you time. Otherwise, showing histogram is easier, correlation is easier. All those things, we are going to do it in a few minutes. But understand these 4 items: empty cell, wrong formats, wrong data, and duplicates. For duplicates, I will agree with you. When I see you removing duplicates, if you have many duplicates also, it would give us an illusion that the students are many and yet students have repeated names. That doesn't make sense, because what you're trying to do, you're trying to make sense out of your data. You're trying to gain insight of your data. So if I have duplicates, what are the consequences of duplicates? You say you people register on the list. I see 100 students, and yet out of the 100 students, 4 of them are just duplicates. That means the actual number of students who are in class are 96. So that's why you remove. And even when you're explaining it to someone, you say, even when you're explaining it to me, next time when you're presenting your data to get the final marks, you tell me, we check for duplicates. If there are duplicates, you drop them. If there are no duplicates, you use it. We shall come to that. I'll also look at the wrong format, because I created wrong formats. Are you able to deal with wrong format? That's why I wanted us first to deal with empty cells. We go to wrong formats, we go to wrong data and duplicates. Wrong data is under date. I personally manipulated that. And I also have duplicates in this data set. So understand this pre-processing. Let me put it here. It is called preparation. So this is the most important thing. Every data set that you are given, it is better to spend a lot of time doing checking for empty cells, wrong formats, wrong data, duplicates. And how do you handle empty cells? You now know you can drop. If let's say if I have this date, female, and this, and the rest of the columns are empty, that one you drop it. Someone wants to ask a question, but the network is poor. Have you understood? Are you getting me? Can someone unmute and confirm that they are picking what I'm explaining?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we
Okay, fine.
I did.
Okay, you can mute. So be very careful, otherwise you will not get marks. Don't ask me why our group we only have maybe most students, because you will fail as a group if you don't implement this. That's why I want to explain them now. The rest of the things are easier. You would learn them on your own. You can Google them online, but it's better to understand the aspects of preparation, data preparation. So let's go. I've explained it, but the rest I know we will move faster. Now, for you to calculate median. Now you know median is what? Is the middle number. And then mean is the average. Always, it's important to use, anyway, depending on your data. And if you have only maybe like one column which is filled, 2 columns, and the rest of the columns are empty, it is okay, you can drop that one because the impact is quite different. Let me check something in the chat. Okay, people are understanding. The most important thing is understanding. When you have understood the things, you can analyze your data very well. Visualization is easier. I think tomorrow we'll do more of visualization, then that part of statistical representation. But for now, let's understand the core. This important thing is the one which is important. Once you know data cleaning, data preprocessing, yeah, I think you can now analyze your data. So let's do the same for median. I said I can, okay, this time around I'm going to use MD because I've already used M for median. Then we will look at one column, DF4. Then let's look at still the column for calories. We can use one column just for explanation only. Then now we can now use to get the median. You just need to use the word what? The method median. Okay, that is it. It's only going to fill for those empty what? Cells. Then median, and then okay. And then you use the in place method, in place true. But whenever you use the in place true in caps, it tends, so you have to use it in lowercase. Okay. Now, when you run this, you realize the changes are not yet there. And if you need to again reload the data set, you need to go back and reload it. That's why I kind of feel annoyed. I can now just try to do this. Every time I'm going to do that, forgive me for this particular part. I'll try to read my data set so that I do not have to scroll up, because I am having too many data up there. So I will always try to use now DF4, then PD, dot read underscore, and then I'll always make sure that I have the data set, which is going to be BS dataset 4. So I will always use this part so that when I run, I don't have that challenge now. Now, when I add one cell and I want to get the output, I can now just do df4. Okay? No, I can, if I want to see it on all, I can just reuse this code here that we talked about for us to see the.
I think that one just work for all. Even if you don't reuse, once you have set the property, it works, because mine, I've seen it is working even without.
Okay, let me run. Okay, it's okay. So you don't have to repeat it. You just do df4, or you just do print df4. So what is the calculation of median? If you look at it from the other data that we have, what's the calculation?
It's 321.
321. Do I have 321? Missing. I can't see 321.
Maybe just print out what you have calculated, the median, then you shall see which value you have.
No, sir. First check line 59.
59 from this?
Yeah. Line 59, 321. Then go to calories column.
59.
59.
Okay, 321. Okay, can you mute? Okay. So that is how you could probably check and see if it has filled in the value. Now you can calculate it using that. So the same method, you can apply it for what? For mod. I think we are now done with what? Empty cells. Can we now go to wrong format? You can try on your own, the mod.
Yes, sir, but 321 was in the original data set already filled in.
Sure.
It wasn't? Yeah, it
So
wasn't among the empty.
The empty cells were
there,
9.
Line 7, record 17.
Okay. It is, that means the value is 318.6.
That should be the value.
Yeah, because according to the
another option is just put print the median, then we say the value you have calculated.
Okay.
MED, yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's that 318. Okay. So you could check it out. Now, can you try to calculate mod? You could do mod on what? This time you can try to change. You can try to get mod on edge. I'm sure in that column they're also there. Calculate. Calculate mod on edge. Try it. Let this be your first exercise. It doesn't take long, but just do it faster. Exercise 1.
There is a method, interpolate. I don't know where it lies. It's a median, mode, or mean.
Interpolate. The method is called what?
Like, when there is a missing value, you interpolate and it gives you a value. I don't know whether it is the median, mean, or mode, but there is a method. It's interpolate.
Okay, yeah, the method is there. It probably also helps dealing with helps dealing with missing numbers or missing values. You can use it. You can use the interpolate method because wherever you see like none, let me try to go back here. You can use it, the interpolate method. Okay, just know where there's none, like there's somewhere here. I'm just showing you, but I'm not implementing. So you see this method, this none here under date. I see it. Where there's none means not a number. So you could also use this one to it's basically for estimating values that you can use to, like the way we are going to be using the interpolate method, maybe to estimate any date and put it here. Particularly, it's basically used for that. Just estimate, and then you can fill in those missing values. Yes?
I feel like interpolate is mostly for linear data, like data flowing in a certain direction. You can't just use it on random, for example, age. You can't use it for age because age is kind of random. There's no pattern that people doing this are supposed to be this age. But then for like something like maybe if we are using data flowing in a certain, maybe we calculate population according to, we can use like there's a flow, there's a format, maybe every after 4 years, not find something in the middle there that we can use interpolate, but for random data, I don't think it can work.
It cannot work because all I know about interpolate is that how about when you're looking at polynomial interpolation or spline interpolation, or linear interpolation. So I don't think the idea can be applied, but you would see, based on the data set that you have, how you can apply this technique of handling the missing values using probably the
interpolation. I think interpolation is for a data set which has some pattern. You can't just interpolate a random number, as my colleague said, because interpolation is just getting some two said ends, then you see what is happening in the middle, and you check the other one. If it is all the same throughout, then
you estimate and then you put.
Yeah, you can estimate, then to be correct. Yeah.
Okay, you try to understand when to apply it, but for this data set might be tricky, as you can see. I think that also gives a hint on how to use interpolate, but it's basically filling in like missing value. But yeah, linear interpolation, polynomial, you could use the interpolate method. Now let's move to wrong format. We're trying to get hit up by time, but I have to make sure I finish all the things today because I'm running out of time. But it's good that we are understanding. So you calculated mode. I'll see it when you submit your assignment. Not sir? Is that okay? You calculate mode and then you try to fill in. I'll see that when you submit your assignment. So let's try to look at wrong format. Basically is that cells with data that make it very difficult or impossible to analyze, you could just remove the rows or convert those cells into the same format. Like, for instance, if you look at columns that contain the non-values, they might be very difficult for us to analyze them. Like for instance, when you look at this other bit of the date, of 5, it becomes a little bit harder to analyze those data. So my internet is unstable, but I will be able to go. So the best way how you can deal with this raw file, I think removing it would be okay. Because if it is really hard for you to analyze the data, then I feel it's better to drop it, okay? Because it can be a little bit very challenging. Let's look at also one data set. There's a data which I manipulated here on date. I don't know whether I manipulated it very well, but okay. Let us say that date, let me just use the code to explain that concept. Let's say that, so here, wrong format normally like data which is hard to analyze, or rows that is hard to analyze. Now this could be, let's look at it in terms of maybe non-value, okay? Okay, then maybe also, okay, for instance, let's look at it in this in this way. Let's say someone has written date like this. I think it might be a little bit difficult for us to analyze such data. But in most cases, what you would do is to try as much as possible to first convert them into what? Into strings. And then see if you can be able to handle that. If it is possible to convert it into strings. Or you could use, for this case, I think it is going to be easier. You can use the replace, and then you replace it with the correct format. Okay? For this kind of data. But I don't think I have that kind of data in this data set. I don't think I have it when you try to check it throughout. But in an event like this one where the date is not there, in this case, I think the best would be to just drop it. So when you're dealing with dates, my date is not in a good format, so I may not be able to explain much more about it, but let's just understand it in this way. Maybe I will give you another data set that is having a date that can be manipulated very well, because my date here contains 2 values, and we might be running into errors. So the best is just to remove. You just drop this. But otherwise, you would try, let's you try just to use the date method to help you convert it into maybe into the format that, because this is already a good format for date. There's nothing much we can change except for this data. You just need to drop it. Yeah, I think that is it with that part. On that, I'll try to get for you an example of a data set that you can use. Otherwise, what you would do, you would just, it's dropping it would be the best option. Dropping it would be the best option. I think we could just drop it.
Excuse me, sir. I have a question.
Yes.
Is dropping it the best option or putting some random value yourself?
I think dropping might not be the best. Okay, in an event, let's discuss it in a minute. Dropping
Because
it
I think
will affect the
I think
data.
dropping will mean that you are going to lose the whole data about that person. Might be it is only that date which is missing. It is the only value missing in the row. So dropping it you will lose the entire data of that person. I think it is good, like we did before inserting 100. We can just get from our format, we can just insert another date. Then maybe notice somewhere that this one was not really picked from the person, but
yeah, I think that would be the best option. But yeah, but if the data is a little bit, they don't contain too much data, you can drop it.
Sure.
Yeah, I think like in this case, let's You forgive me, I had a network glitch. My data got depleted on both MiFi, so but I'm finally back. So let's resume from where we stopped. Where we got interrupted from. Okay, so I hope you're still there.
Yeah, we are there, sir.
Okay.
I was at the point
Anything
of
to
saying
discuss?
something.
Okay.
Yeah. Studying the timestamp we have, I'm seeing just a linear data set where only the minutes are the one changing, because all this data is like it is taken on the same day and the same time, which is 9, only the minutes changing. So seeing that, I think the data which is missing there, it is just the minute is 39. And we could just fill in that.
Okay. Okay, for this particular data, we could just fill in. It is 30 what? 9:38. No, this one is okay. This one does not affect, based on this data that we have here. What we just need to do, we just need to fill in this correct format.
Yes.
Maybe we just need to use what? The fill now, which is actually much easier for you to do. We could just, is it kind of a string?
Yeah, it is a string. Think, yeah, fill mine and it is working.
So we can use it with a string, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. So what time did you give there? It was on 5th.
Yeah, on 5th, just
so here, did you put it in quotes?
Yeah, in quotes.
Okay. So it was 5th, 07. Let me just copy and then I just anytime.
It is 5th, 7, 2023. 9.
Just sometime, maybe like
Sir.
9.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I feel like we should use the dictionary type of the dictionary format for that fill now part, because if you just put in that, that means they're also going to update the part where we are missing an emotion and put the date there. If you just put like that.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Yeah, you need to provide the column name before you.
I thought we were dealing with a specific column.
Yeah, timestamp, but you have not indicated it here.
Not specified it.
You have not specified DF4. Then in the square bracket, you need to specify it.
So this is going to be time what?
Timestamp.
Okay. So this works for that particular data that is missing. It was number 5? Yeah. Okay. I think this would be a better way to handle such data. And even when you are explaining it, you just need to write something. You just need to write some note on it. Okay? Especially if you're submitting like your final assignment. You just need to write some note and say that was it only on one Was it only on one cell?
Yeah, it's only
Yes.
one date missing.
Okay. Then just say I think row row 5 contained just call it non-values, and we filled with
Yes, I have a question.
yes. You go ahead and ask the question.
Now, like, what if we had more than 2 rows with missing values? Because according to timestamp, like, actually, the time is why I say it's in ascending order. Like, for
Yeah, it
example,
is. Yeah, it is because it is like how people have been registering. Remember with Google Doc, the time at which you keep registering, it keeps increasing. Eh?
yeah, but so what if like the second row with the missing timestamp was maybe maybe row 20? That means the timestamp which we are filling in with
Will be the
13
same.
be the same, and I think it won't be the good option because there
Yeah.
it will be the ascending order like the way we want it to be.
Sir, excuse me.
Okay.
Is there any way we can identify where this missing the null value are? Then we can interpolate. I think in this case we can interpolate if we can convert this sequence into integer, then we can.
I think the best option would be for us to create more empty cells and see if we can interpolate.
Yeah, I think interpolation may be a good option. Or like here
we might have to manipulate. If we are
Yeah.
handling this data set as his, then that would not work. But if we manipulate this data set further and create more empty cells, don't you think that would be the best option to interpolate?
Yeah. I think it will be.
So could I give it like an assignment and you try it out for today? Because I want us to finish, but also don't forget that when you're dealing with wrong formats, you're basically trying to make sure that the wrong cells have the same format, and that's the most important thing. It's just making sure that because I don't want you to confuse it with wrong data. We have just entered too much into wrong data than even wrong format.
Okay, I request like maybe we try to check for we try to confirm that the format in the timestamp is okay, because I tried it with my PC earlier with some data set, but it was bringing some kind of error, because that would be like a data where it accepts 2 digits first, then a slash, 2 digits next, a slash, and then 2 digits. But when try to
you see the problem we have. We have a model. We have a model that we deal with for handling dates. I don't know whether you know that model, to underscore date. Okay. There is a model. There's this model here. I want you to first check it out. It's okay to discuss, but there are so many concepts that you can try this out when, especially if you're handling it on your own. There is this method to underscore date time. Okay. So what it means is that if you're dealing with date, you could just try to maybe change the format. If you see with format, it's all about if there are values, you have to convert it to strings. then you use toString method. Like if you just have values, let's say this date is not a good one. Should we manipulate our data set? And because you won't understand, actually you won't understand the concept. Let me try to explain this in a simple way. First, when you're dealing with formats, first listen, when you're dealing with formats, there are two things which are involved. Okay, if the value is if they're in value form, okay, that means you want to convert that format so that all whatever is in that column is into strings. That is when you find the date format. We all know the standard date format, and I've given you in this example that there's something here. Let's handle this, but you'll have to handle it in different columns also. Okay, I deleted it. I said date can be written like this. Guys, let's not confuse this thing. It's going to make it, you're going to confuse this, then wrong format is also going to be another thing. So it is going to be 2023 like this, and maybe 5. So let me ask you as a class, is this a format of a date? Is this how they write the date format? Just answer me yes or no.
No. No.
Now, the reason why I said like handling this data as his may be a little bit tricky is because we have the date and we also have the time bit of it. Okay? Now, you might get some kind of error doing it. But now, what is the best format for writing date? You have it like this. This format here means it is a value. Isn't this a value? Answer me. Isn't this a value?
Yes.
Now, that's what I'm waiting for. Now, if we have a format in this form, you need to convert it. Convert to maybe a format which is this. I'm just using that same data, that same date, and then 0, 5. Now, which format do you think this is? Logically, which format do you think this could be? This and this. This is a value. Then what is this? This is an integer. Then what is this? Unmute, please, and explain. We finish this thing. They are not difficult concepts, but you're trying to make it harder. What is this format?
I think that should be a string.
Yeah. Now, this is why we call them what? Wrong formats. So if you have a data which is like this, it's very difficult to analyze it when you are dealing with date. So in most cases, when you are given what? A data set, and the data set is in this form, you are supposed to convert this data set. You are supposed to convert this to make sure that they're in a what? A string form. That's what they call wrong format. This format here is wrong. That's why we call it wrong format. Then there's another concept which we are supposed to look at it next, which deals with what? Wrong data. Now, this is a wrong format. Now let us look at wrong data. Okay? Now I've said that in an event, it is hard for you to analyze this data. And in some situation, like here, it is easier for you to change it, to change this to, you can use this kind of find and replace. You find this, okay. Basically, you check through that data, but it's better to convert it to a string if this is the format of your data. and you have a data, I don't have it on the original data set. I'm just using it to explain wrong format. And you have a data set which is in this form. So the best is to convert it to string using the date method, then it will change it to a date format. I think it is better we manipulate our data set. And then could you manipulate, because I think that data set cannot explain the concepts of what? Wrong format. There's just an empty cell only on that column for time. I'm now going to, let's try to do that and change for purposes of learning. So what we are going to do, let's come here. Have you seen this? I think I was trying to do it, but I did not do it in the right way. I tried to put this. This is a string. And then let's also have this to be what? Let's change this. I think this is not going to be good. The format is not it's too disorganized today. Let's just use maybe okay, same date, because everything was on 5th. 0. Okay. So let's use this format for this particular part. And okay, so we now know this format here. It is even changing the format. Anyway, we'll just change it to the date format. It will try to figure it out. Because if you put this, it will still, okay. We'll just try to change it. Then you also have something for, okay, we managed to deal with that. Let me just also add one more thing. Then we have something like 0.5, the 0 will go away. Do you know that in Excel, that 0, if you write it, it will go away?
Excuse me, sir.
But we can change. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I think I have some suggestion. I found out something in case like for our previously my colleague was asking, assuming we had many value which are missing in this time stamp and they are not in the same place. Actually, they are the figures are different. Let's say in the beginning and in the middle and at end. So there's a method we can use to insert different values at a specific place in the data frame, and it is a art. You give the name of data frame, then you dot art.
Okay. You share.
Okay.
Share to share. Let's explain that and share so that people can what? Can follow.
Okay. So I think you are seeing my. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
So this is the code. So here at the row 5, there was a value which was missing. So to insert the data at that specific row, you just provide the name of the data frame, then dot art, then you give that index, then you provide the name of the column, then you get the you assign the value for that. So if there are many, of course, you are going to do for those specific ones. Say here you can even change it. Maybe another one is at the index 10, you can write 10, then you write the specific value, then you provide a comment. So I think that one will work out if the data is we cannot manipulate it using maybe interpolation, because we can do interpolation only when it is numeric. But if it is a string, then it will be very hard to convert it successfully to integer and interpolate. So I think this method will help in such scenario.
Okay. Now I want to ask one question. You could stop sharing.
Okay.
my first and last question is, have you understood wrong format of a data? Have you understood wrong format? The answer should be yes or no.
Yes.
Have you understood wrong format?
Yes.
Okay. Can we talk about wrong data and we talk about duplicates so that we can also have time to talk about correlation, and then we do some bit of plotting. Otherwise, all these solutions, the idea, just go on internet, try to write how to implement it. How to implement it, it's always there. We all know how to, as programmers, we all know how to get those solutions online. Now, what is important is understanding the concept of a wrong data, because when you're given a data set which is big, it is going to be very difficult for you to look through one by one. Like this one, we are the one just manipulating it. But when it comes in real life or in practical situation, it is going to be difficult to look through all this data to see, let me first see. No, you just need to write a code to understand it, because if the columns are like 10,000, you cannot scroll this one by one to check that. That's why I said it's better first to understand the concept of pre-processing, those other logic, how to apply them. We always know you can just go on internet, you find out it is implemented, how you think it should be done, you can find it on internet. And of course, I know that is exactly what you guys are doing on that other end of the computer. But now you're driving me away from the concept, you're driving me from the perspective of allowing me teach you and understand this other concept so that we can probably finish this in the time we have. Otherwise, if we are to keep implementing different ideas, then trust me, we might need to resume back to our normal time of 3 hours, and then we go for, maybe I should ask you, should we do more of trying and we be thinking logically than understanding the concept, or we first understand the concept which is necessary so that we can now implement that in our final assignment? Because I'll be with you on campus, and that is when we can now try to implement those ideas. Remember, I had the network glitch. I wasted time. I look at time, I have 15 minutes. Now, on the 15 minutes, I haven't explained wrong data. I haven't explained how to remove duplicates. And I haven't explained correlation. I haven't explained panda plotting. Maybe at least plot an histogram or what, which I know you can even Google and find it. But there are some students who understand in class. There are those ones who understand by Googling. That's why each and every time when I'm explaining a concept, the moment I mention the concept, you go and explain. You go on internet, and then you come to represent it here. You find the head of the concept, and we tend to be torn apart. What do you think we should do? Maybe I should seek for your opinion. Otherwise, we might not be able to cover more with the methods. What do you think?
You need input. Can I say something?
Yeah, you say something. We would do that. I know that approach. We can do it, but you give me your input.
I think your approach is good, though I think last week, I think the last one, I think for me, I was not able to pick it very well because that time you are trying to move fast, and I think you did not
I was
bother
moving fast
about whether we were understanding. I think that was why initially when we were beginning this period, no one was able to share a screen of reading the data because most of the people were lagging behind. Even me, I was lagging behind. And I think today we have moved well. I think people have understood. I think you should do more of explaining, and we could just share Just briefly, not much.
I also feel it because you see, if I come and then I start writing how these codes work, it becomes difficult for me because every time I am teaching you people, I'm looking at it up as students understanding. Are you able to do something? Because if I ask you to do something and you cannot, it becomes difficult. And next time when I give you, because I'm the one going to prepare the data set, but I also don't discourage you from Googling and then looking at all those ideas. Because I know Googling would be much easier. You can Google something, then try to understand it. That one, I know it's very simple. That's what we do. But the bad thing is understanding this, because if you start implementing them, it becomes very difficult. Like what I did last time. I came, I was just able to actually, I'm repeating what I did the other time. But one person made a comment that it's not explained well. Maybe I was fast. So in that way, I slept on, that was Thursday, Wednesday. I went with that thing on my mind. I said, now how can I improve this? The students are going to fail their final project. Those who are going to do data science. So can I explain this slowly? That's why you see I'm not even rushing, but I make sure that I put the concept. Let's understand the concept. Then we can now go to advanced stages. In the basic stages, let's try to avoid too much and understand. Probably ask questions like, okay, so what do you mean with wrong format? What can we see the wrong format in the data set? We asked kind of like a question which build understanding. Otherwise, you'll find the class is torn apart. That is what I'm feeling. Any other input? Class rep, Sarah. What should be the mode?
I think it would be better for us to we do a majority vote, because some people might be fine with the 2 hours and you're taking them quickly, but others might be fine with the 3 hours and they really understand and go slowly. So I think we should do the majority vote and we go with that.
Okay, members, let's vote. What do you think we should do? We should.
Mike, I have a question.
So I have an input. I feel like we should try like Livingstone's thing, Mr. Livingstone's thing, where he like tells us what we are going to cover in the next lecture.
Okay,
so
Sami,
by the time we come, we have like ideas and all that.
You mean they have not shared with you the outline of what we are supposed to cover?
Leave the outline aside. Like the outline is the general overview, but now like you tell us, for example, next lecture we are covering maybe we are going to do the interpolation and all that, so that by the time people come, they're already well versed, so that it kind of like helps the people who understand slowly, they have time to like get their thing. Then those who get stuff very fast, they are like also, like we are on the same kind of plane.
Okay, now the only difference with me and Livingstone is that I'm doing the advanced bit of it and Livingstone is doing the intro bit of it. I'm sure you should have noticed that in what we are doing, in what he's doing. If for him, he lays the foundation, but sometimes you find I come to class when, that's why I ask, I'm not sure whether you have covered this. Because me, I'm always trying to build on the knowledge. But I feel if I do that, then we would be able to cover more.
Welcome.
That's why I because this is what I'm
I have an
explaining. Okay. You will forgive me today, we'll go up to midday.
Okay, personally, I think like I suggest like we understand our concepts first, because according to the way I've explained like today. Of course, now for example, the timestamp, there are many different ways someone can can maybe modify his timestamp. And if you have to look at each every way, then that means you take more time. So
That's
it's better
very
to
true.
first understand the concepts, then modifying it to maybe dropping or filling it. It will be individual assignment most of the times, or in the last 3 weeks for the project. So I suggest you first understand
in the
the
last
concepts. That will be
in the
the
last
best idea.
that one I'm sure in the last week that's what I in the last week that's not because you have a in other words, I should have actually maybe shown you this using arrays. That's why we divided it with Livingstone. So that Livingstone could lay that foundation, like installing, yeah, we always, me and Livingstone, we share a lot before even we come to class. That's why I make sure I teach you exactly what is needed. Because if I don't teach you, then you are going to have, you may not analyze the data. Okay, remember you are all at the university, so we expect some level of understanding. Yes. Yes, please go ahead. Hello? Are you trying to pass in some information?
Like what I wanted to ask about, if you had to look at what Mr. Livingston was teaching and what you taught today, basically he examined the same concept and you have also been passing through almost the same concept. So I don't know if it is the coordination between.
Livingstone has already under all these concepts of data cleaning and all this. Has he covered it?
No.
Yes.
No or yes?
Yes, he covered it.
It was an assignment. It was an assignment.
In class, he did not cover. He just tried to create data frame that was all covered.
Okay, do you know why I am spending a lot of time on this part? Okay, I'm not even supposed to spend time here. That's the first thing. I should just go over it. That's what I feel I should have done. But what I feel is that when it comes to analyzing the data, it might be a little bit difficult for you to work with the final project. That's why we want to spend a lot of time on you understanding the preparation. If you ask, because there are several ways how to implement it in the advanced stages. This is the basic stages. If I switch back to how I've been analyzing my data, there are so many functions that I use. Even I could even use dictionary at some point. There are so many things you can use. But I feel if I go by that, then most of you are you're not going to understand this foundation. That's why I was feeling like if I spend more time with this part and you understand most of this, then it becomes easier. How many people know how to plot, to visualize, to plot a bar chart and a bar chart, histogram, line graph, scatter plotter, heat map, all those things? How many people know how to do it? Have you covered it?
In Python or the general knowledge?
No, in Python.
I think we have not covered.
Okay. Now you see why all this analysis comes in that aspect. So to me, I feel let's understand the main thing. Okay, you see, my job mostly is data analysis. And in data analysis, there I know you can basically read CSV file, read JSON, JavaScript object notation files, then basically that. But me, my interest was to make sure that I show you how to what? How to do data visualization, which is plotting. But before I reach data visualization, I can just do one example and that is it, which I'm going to do tomorrow. But have the student understood the core aspect of what they call data pre-processing and preparation? Are you all comfortable with that area? Because that is the only thing. Because when they are given a data set, the first thing is to ask question. What am I analyzing? And that's where you spend a lot of time. I'm explaining this from the perspective of the workflow I've been going through. You may spend like 1 or 2 days or even a week analyzing it, but visualizing it is very simple. You spend a lot of time understanding the data. Like now, there's only one guy who is trying to understand this data. It is Odori. Odori is the one trying to understand the data, if I'm to be honest with you. Because even his input, you really feel that, okay, this man is understanding. The rest of you, it's very difficult to gauge because you are not participating. So could we, for today, forgive me, let's go up to midday. The last suggestion in 1 hour, what should we do? Because I'm not going to talk about this pre-processing. The last suggestion, what should we do? No one is suggesting.
We understand the concept, the foundation.
Okay. So now, can we now look at wrong data?
Yes.
Let's first understand those things, then it's going to be easier. Remember, your data set will always be manipulated with wrong data. Just for you to understand what wrong data is. And I've decided to use a simple example, which is, I never wanted to use it, but because of what I experienced the other time I was fast. So I don't want to go back to that same scenario. So now let's look at wrong data. So when we talk about wrong data, let's understand this as a general class, then we can try to move. Now, wrong data can occur if some values exceeds certain, if some values goes beyond certain range in that column. Like let's go to this data set and we look at column for, let's look at column for, looks like my data looks to be okay. I think it's kind of altered because of, let's look at these ranges of I'm just going to pick an example here. Let's look at this. I'm not, it should be there, but let me just check. Because I don't want to talk about. Okay. Someone should mute. We don't have it. We don't have it in that data. Can someone mute? Okay. Now I'm just going to explain it. Let's say you were supposed to enter 60, and then accidentally you have maybe data like 6,000. Now, when you go to that range, you find that 6,000 is beyond the range. That means that particular data is the wrong data. Because when you look at, you don't see anything relating so much to 6,000. Why is the range so big like this? Now, this could be manipulated in our data set. You may find a situation where on a column, okay, let me just give it in terms of age. You come to age and then you find the age is 10,000 or 23,000. The age is, instead of writing 23, the age is written what? 23,000. Then you start asking yourself, do we really have someone who has lived for 23,000? And this has a very big impact even when you are plotting. Imagine you're plotting a bar graph of age. You find one long column that is too, it's not even relating to others. That is what they call wrong data. Another thing on wrong data is in a situation, if someone has written where the value is supposed to be maybe like, let's see, I see 21, 21.99, okay? And then you find in your data set, it's 21.99. Now this becomes what we call what? A wrong data. That means this data should have, this should be removed, okay? Then the last bit of it is, if you maybe try to look at, basically, these are the only two things that happens. If you look at data that is in this wrong format, those who have done accounting, they know it with wrong format, wrong data. So where you're supposed to write, they call it transposition or what? There's those accounting words which are being used, where instead of entering the value, the person has entered it wrongly. So you may sometimes experience this in your data set. And then it's better to check if your data contains an integer or a floating number. If it contains a floating number, you need to what? You need to try to, you can use the fill now to convert, and then you explain. You say this row contains this, but according to the way data is arranged, it should be in this form. That would be another way of dealing with what? Of dealing with wrong data. Then the best way how you could do this is to try to remove some of those wrong values, okay? It could happen as a result of typo. This typo, like someone has typed it wrongly. So you could try to remove these zeros. It could be because of, then you explain that this happened because of typo in that cell. You say, this data is changed from, data is maybe row, you always use the row where you find the data. Row 23, row 24, 27 contain typo in data sets. So you try to change. So we change from maybe 23,000 to 23, basing on the nature of how the data is. So that is how you deal with what? Wrong data. Then you can also explain the same with the one which have this floating number. Make sure you comment that part of the code so that when someone is giving you marks in your final project, remember all these concepts that I'm explaining, you are likely to find them. You will always find them in your final project. Some data sets you may not have, some you will have. Let me just tell you today, the final data set that you will have, you'll have a data set that contains empty cells, wrong formats, wrong data, and duplicates. That is it. Then I'm also going to explain one other thing. You can remove them if the value, if you don't know how to interpret the value. You say, okay, this column contained wrong value, so we have decided to remove it. Okay. Now let's see how we can try to also deal with what? With one other concept. Like maybe on this line, we have removed. It's the same thing like what Odore was trying to explain. So let's just try to make an assumption on this data set that we can remove. Let's see, what do you think we can remove? What do you think we can remove? What do you think we can remove? Members, what do you think we can drop?
I think in the column where there is, do you have a girlfriend or boyfriend? There's an input of just maybe. So I think that's also wrong data.
Okay. Which column is that to be specific? Which row is that to be specific?
It's record 20. Record 20. The column for it's
No,
actually,
record
do you have a depression?
We are just demonstrating, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you're going to just delete, basically, which we call it what? Which method do you think we can use for deleting? Which method do you think we can use for deleting?
Deleting the specific value or the
we could delete. Yeah, we could delete that specific value. Which method do you think we could delete? Which column do you think we can delete? Okay, I mean row. So let's.
Are we deleting the whole row or we just picking out the value?
I think it is better to delete the whole row.
or then we use the, I think, adopter by specifying the row, I think.
We could drop. So we could just drop that row, basically. That means we just have to look for that value. I don't know. We can use the for loop to look through that column, not so? Okay. Just help me. Do you have emotion? Do you have depression? I don't know. Okay. Can someone mute that person who is muting? Who is talking? Monica. Monica? Okay. Fine. Doctor has saved us. So we are now going to deal with this. You help me also in the columns. The row is 13. The row is 13. And then we just want to delete this word here. Then that means it doesn't show the, okay, the column. Do you have it? I don't know which column is this. But we would just use the for loop to what? To find it. Just in case we get into an error, we shall just debug it.
So I think we can just use lock.
Yeah, the lock method can work. Let's use that. So we could use but will it pick the data set? Remember, we're supposed to, okay, let's see. If it doesn't, then we can still read the data set. Can we say for, I don't want to use a word which is a reserved word. Let's use like for, okay, for X in our data frame 4 dot index. Now we don't have to again explain this concept of the 4. We just want to look for that particular value. Then we look at the column and then we see if that equals to that, then we can drop it. So I think if would be much better if in data frame 4 dot, now we can now lock so that it only looks at that column in our X. Then let's be specific, which now that column is supposed to be what? Which column are we going to deal with? Remember also Python is case sensitive. Do you want me to scroll? Can't you help me and find the column which we want to remove? I don't know. Is on line 13. Okay, let me just scroll up here. I don't know. I'm just looking for that particular column of how it is written. Do you have depression? No, let's deal with this. This is easier to see. Gender. Someone put Marabok stock. We can just remove that. Okay. Okay, then we can say gender. Now, this time is going to be equals to, oops. It's supposed to be equals to this word that the person put. What the person put? Marabok stock. Okay. Now, if it defines that, Then in our DF4, then we can now use the drop. Which is going to be into our variable x, because it is going to loop through that. Then you use the in place to be true. Okay.
Excuse me,
So
I
we
have a question.
Yes.
My question is, now assuming there are some, not only this one person has put wrong data, if we are limiting it only to Marable, that means we are only going to draw that. So if there are other instances where the people have put wrong gender, is there no way we can only check if the gender is not male or female, then we throw it out?
We could try to use that. If gender, it's all about here
Of
the
course,
argument.
of course, I think we should put more emphasis on understanding the concept rather than going for other ways.
No, it's okay. What he's saying, it's like me, I just pick one concept, but what he's saying is very good. He said that we should use where it checks if it is not male or female. So if it is not male or female, remember the way this is written, some people, you see how they have written it. This particular data set is really complex. First, let me explain something. The best thing to do with this data set is to, let me give you my honest opinion, what you could do, because each and every column we pick, there are problems. This is one of the worst data set that you could ever have. One, you could try to convert all this, because Python is case sensitive. You see, others are written in uppercase, others are written in lowercase. That means you need first to convert all these data sets so that they are into what? Into the same format. If you're going to use female in this format and male in this format, you have first to convert all of them for that to work. Remember, Python is case sensitive. If you say is equals to male or female, then it might not work in that scenario here. Do you understand that? So the first option is to first convert for this particular column gender so that they all contain the same format of naming of gender. This would have been solved if I'd put a radio button or a checkbox. Then I type in the value. That is another best way of collecting that data. But the reason why I allowed you to put in your own value, because I wanted to experience a wrong data to deal with. Maybe also we should look at how we can do it in an advanced stages tomorrow. We first look at how to convert this data set. Then can we do all this tomorrow? Converting it, because it's going to take again some more time.
I think, sir, you can just run the code and we see the concept is understood, like removing. We can just remove that.
This first one, it's going to take time. I know the code. I know what. Okay, I'll do this myself and I will show it to you tomorrow in everything. Because this one, you need first to convert it back to what? To the normal thing. I understand what you have said, but look at this situation. Remember, Python is case sensitive. That means you have to feed in all this option.
Like what I was saying is, in the condition, you will first need to convert all the strings which you have covered to a specific pattern. trim them, convert them to a lowercase, then you compare in just the condition. But I think you can run your code, the one you have written, then we see if that one is removed, then the concept is understood, that one we can do it. I was just trying to suggest.
Okay. But you see, in any concept that you bring in, what it takes to solve that problem. Now, like you see here, yes. So if you look at this idea, so that means you can only understand it using that other bit of it. So let's run this. Okay. All I know, it may not show anything because we are not, unless we try to rerun the other data set which we have loaded. Let's probably just rerun it. I know it's not far away. It's probably closer here. Okay, so we can rerun this, or always we just keep this within what, so that we do not go back scrolling up to rerun it. Then we can just read the data frame and see if data has has removed it. Then can now just do df4. Then we just, it was in which gender, but I think it is removed.
Yeah, it has been removed.
Okay, this is how you do it, but what you have asked can also be done. Okay, but you have to use kind of like a dictionary. Then you first try to change the format. You put all the format which are there, and then the one which you are going to change it. If you are going to do it like that, then you can implement your logic. Otherwise, this, I believe you understand that it won't work when you just do it for male or female because of the different formats that we have here.
But if we add in some regular expressions?
No, the best is to change the format of the data. That's so that they all have the same format. Okay, you try it out during your free time and send it. But me, I know how to do it. You just need to change all this to a format that's the best thing, to change it all to a format that can. Otherwise, we will do it. We will waste time, and then we run into an error. You can try that using regular expression. Send it to me. Okay, let's try to finish up with duplicates. I'm sure there's also we'll try to do that, and let's just solve this other bit of it with using duplicate. I'm sure there are some duplicates there. Let's see if
they're not duplicates.
No, in the data set I sent, it is there. I personally added the data set. I don't know where it is exactly, but when you try to run it, it is there. I copied the same. Okay, let's first check if there are duplicates. Okay, we could just use df4. Okay, let's just print duplicates to see if there are duplicates. Probably this would help to show us if it is true, it will show. You could check it out using this output. Print df4 dot duplicates. Do they call it duplicated? The method is duplicated. So let's first check if there are duplicates. So you see true. True means there are duplicates. So now the only thing you need to do is to remove the duplicates. So you drop the duplicates. That's the only thing that you need to do. So that's, you check using that, then you just drop using this. Just do df data frame 4 dot, then you drop underscore duplicates, then you use the in place method to deal with the original data sets. In place, true. Now this helps you to what? Now I believe it has dropped the duplicate. So if you try to run the DF4 again, no, you just check if now there are DF4 in that data. Just use the print again to check if there are duplicates again. Okay. Just this to save time. So now you see the duplicates are not there. You don't see true. That's how you could check and remove duplicates. But I've explained for you the concept of duplicates. Okay. So let me finish up this other remaining thing. Then we can now do data visualization tomorrow. I hope you'll also be able to learn more in the afternoon. But that is the end of, this is the end of data pre-processing. But we can now go into advanced stages. Into our weeks, week 7 and week 8, when you are dealing with your assignment, try to ask as many questions as possible so that we can, because we will give you a data set and then try to understand the data set and how you can work on the data set before you submit the final project. Now, your focus is going to be on 3 items. If there are duplicates in the data set, if there are wrong formats, if you can clean the data set, and how you can implement that. Tomorrow, we can work with one more complex example, and then we do that. So can I just try to maybe show you one small thing like how to, I don't know, correlation. Maybe you could handle it in the afternoon, but let me just to show you the basic thing of just plotting, not a complex plotting, but just plot one small thing, simple thing probably would be okay. Then you can try to plot others on your own. Let me just try to show you how to plot an histogram. Then you can use that concept to plot other things. Then in the afternoon, if you cover more, it's okay. Tomorrow I'm going to go advanced. That means you will try to use all these small concepts there so that we can now finish up this, because it's already on top of the hour. Now, for just getting maybe one simple visualization, tomorrow we can do more of visualization. Then we can even have that correlation now within the final work that we are going to do tomorrow.
Saying more about tomorrow.
Everything, we are going to finish it tomorrow. So if it also extends, we shall do 3 hours. If we fail to do it in 2 hours, 30 minutes. But I'll try to send you the data set that we are going to work with earlier so that you try it out. You come when you have already practiced the data set.
And
so
tomorrow is a Tuesday.
No, Wednesday. I'm going to send the data set to class rep. Then the class rep shares it with you. Then you try to analyze it. And then we try to understand the data set so that we take less time understanding the data set tomorrow. My whole work is basically analysis, how you can do this, understand this small concept. So let's just try let's just print for age. Let's just print a data, a histogram for age. So you just a simple one. You can try with I'll give you an assignment on what to try with, just for you to try. I know it's not difficult. So let's just try to just do plotting or data visualization. So what data visualization can handle the plotting, which you have to use the module for plotting, which is the matplotlib. Okay. mat plot matplot library, matplotlib. Okay, so that's what you're going to use. And what you can do in most cases, heat map. I expect you to show it a lot in your final product. Then pie chart, bar graph or bar plotting, line graph or line plotting. This line graph you can use dotted or dash. Then we also have scatter plotter. I expect to see it in your work if you're going to do this. Heat map, pie chart, bar plot, histogram. So for those ones who want to practice, you can practice a lot on that. Then scatter, bar, line, pie. Okay, I expect to see this when you're doing your final product. So let's try to plot. Remember, if you want to plot, you have to run. I don't know. We have to just scroll back to. Let me just do it here. You have to make sure you have this tool, import matplotlib dot pl as. So that is the one for plotting. So if you want to plot anything, you need to import this module. Then for Seaborn, this may be with advanced. So this is basically basic plotting. So let's do a histogram of that data set. Now let's pick one column. Maybe we put a histogram for age. So you can have age, but make sure that age is in quotes. And then you just do plot. Then you do kind equals to then east. So in this way, it will just plot only the histogram for age and the frequency of the age. And that's the only thing that it will be able to show in this histogram. Just basic like that. Okay. Just basic like this. But I want to tell you one thing is that when you go to advanced plotting, there are so many things that we consider. But this is just to keep it basic for you to understand that you can plot. But this can't do a pie. I don't know, you probably could try it out. You could see it might not come out in a pie chart format, but we can use those advanced pie chart that we can explode, show. But this is basically, let's use histogram for that. If you do bar graph, just basics, then we shall do the advanced ones tomorrow. So you can see how it looks like because of the data, but it would be best to represent it in what? In histogram. Then tomorrow we will do a worked example in a more better way and in how I want you to represent your final product, your final assignment. So for today, we are going to stop here. Tomorrow, all of you should attend because I'm going to pick one assignment I'm not going to explain data cleaning what. I'll just pick and start running like the way I was doing it the other time. Because to me, I feel I've explained the most important thing, which is what? Data preprocessing. There are so many ways of how you can do preprocessing. You can't handle preprocessing in one day. Okay, so doctor can now stop the recording and we pick up on Wednesday to finish up with one complex assignment. Even if we do one assignment for the entire 2 hours or 3 hours. Yes, let's do registration.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Can you first display your code for removing? I want to say I was trying to write mine, but it was not working.
No, for removing duplicates.
No, for removing wrong data.